Hey everybody, welcome back to another YouTube video. I'm Rachel Takeman and I'm trying to better myself in 2020 by conquering a new goal every month and tracking it all through YouTube videos. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button down below so you don't miss a video. This week is going to be a little different than you were probably expecting. As I mentioned in last week's video, my March goal is going to be focusing on spiritual health. My January and February goals have focused mainly on physical health, nutrition, and exercise, but my goals throughout the rest of 2020 have to do with not only physical health, but also mental health, relational health, and spiritual health. There are three main ways I'm focusing on my spiritual health this month: Bible reading, prayer, and meditating on verses. So in this video, you were probably expecting to hear about how my first week went. Well, you actually will not be getting that video until March 22nd, and here's why. This video you're watching right now is being released on Sunday, March 8th, and Justin and I are currently at JFK Airport. We're traveling for the next 2 weeks. So I decided that this week and next week, I'll be using these videos to explain where we're going and what we're doing for the next 2 weeks, and how my March goal is going to fit into our travel. We will return to the country on March 22nd, and on that day, I'll be releasing a video where I tell you about my first week of March. And then for the last week of March, you'll be getting a nice long travel video so you can see what we actually did on our trip and how I was able to fit my goals into our travel. So backstory, Justin and I have each been to Europe once, but never together. We've always dreamed of amazing trips because we want to see the world. We want to see it all. Last year around this time, we got super obsessed with Game of Thrones, and I'm not gonna lie, that kind of inspired this trip. But as we started looking more and more into the filming locations and other places that inspired some iconic Game of Thrones places, we were super excited about more than just the Game of Thrones part of where we're going. So I'm going to tell you guys about everywhere we're going this week, how much it cost us, and how we went about putting this trip together, including my favorite apps and websites. Now, none of these recommendations are brand deals or sponsorships, so know that these are truly my best recommendations from the process of planning this trip. And then during the travel video I'll release in a couple weeks, I'll give you guys a final total of how much we actually spent, pictures and videos from our trip, and an explanation of how my goals actually fit into our time abroad. So today is March 8th and we're flying out. We found pretty cheap flights. I learned that JFK is one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest, airport to fly out of in the US, and it's only about 3 hours from us. I also learned that the three cheapest places to fly into and out of in Europe are Dublin, London, and Amsterdam. We booked our flights through justfly.com, but before that I used the Skyscanner app to find the cheapest time to fly, the cheapest airports, and ultimately the cheapest flight. Skyscanner is really cool because you can give the search engine as much or as little information as you want. For a while, when I was dreaming of where we could go, the only information I would put in was which airport we wanted to leave from, and then I let Skyscanner tell me the cheapest place to travel and the cheapest time to travel there. When we narrowed down where we wanted to go, again, I just told Skyscanner our starting point and destination and let the program tell me the cheapest time of year to travel there. And that's how we landed on March. After using Skyscanner to pick out the best flights based on convenience and price, I used the Hopper app to track our flights. I put in the flight information for the flight we wanted to book, and the app told me how much it currently cost. Using this app, I could get alerts anytime the price fluctuates, and they also let me know when they expected the flight will be the lowest price. Using these apps, we got 2 tickets flying Air Portugal airline from JFK to Dublin for $350.80. On our flight back, we have to pay per checked bag, so we decided to only take 1 checked bag and then fit everything else into carry-on luggage. But before we land in Dublin, we're stopping in Lisbon. Our flight has a 24-hour layover in Lisbon, Portugal, so we're leaving the airport and exploring the city of Lisbon for the day. We booked an Airbnb in downtown Lisbon that allows us to drop off our luggage early so we can make the most of the day. The Airbnb costs $60.75. The only downside of this stop is that our flight leaves super early on the 10th, so we will have to get to the airport at 4 a.m. But it's so worth it to see another city. We have a lot we want to do and see in Lisbon, but honestly, we're both most excited to just wander around. It doesn't look like the things we want to see are very far from each other, and the city itself is so beautiful. So we're going to take the day to wander around the city and stop along the way to see all the miradouros, which is Portuguese for viewpoint, that we can. We want to make sure that we can see Liberty Avenue, and then we're also going to check out Carmel Convent, Lisbon Cathedral, and St. George's Castle. Another thing I'm really excited for is the Santa Justa lift. For only €1.50 windows, you can get an awesome viewpoint here. We don't have a ton of time in Lisbon, but I'm looking forward to seeing all the great views we can. Early morning on Tuesday, March 10th, we will be headed back to Lisbon Airport and then flying to Dublin. Although it's going to be rough having to get up so early, we land in Dublin at 9:30 a.m., so we'll still have the whole day. One of the things I was advised to get is a Leap visitor card. For our time in Dublin, we will be relying solely on public transportation, so this is definitely going to help us. Basically, for 19.5 euros, you can purchase a Leap visitor card in the airport, and then you have free unlimited transportation via bus, tram, DART, or any other public transportation for 72 hours. This is super helpful because it includes transportation from Dublin Airport, which is a little bit outside the city center. We found a really cute Airbnb in Dublin that's pretty close to the city center. This Airbnb host is also letting us drop off our luggage early so that we can use the whole day to explore without carrying around our luggage. We're staying at this Airbnb for 2 nights and it cost us $174.66. Now keep in mind, you can easily get a cheaper Airbnb in Dublin, but because we wanted to be close to the city center, we're paying a little bit more for a centrally located place. So we are spending 2 full days exploring Dublin. We decided to purchase the 2-day Dublin Pass, which is $145 for 2 days, but it includes everything we want to do while we're in Dublin, plus it includes admission to a hop-on, hop-off bus so we can get a good guided tour of the city. The Dublin Pass includes admissions to over 30 of the top attractions in Dublin, and it includes fast-track entry whenever possible. And then we downloaded the Dublin Pass app to access our tickets for free offline. But if you're wondering what it is we want to do while we're traveling in Europe, basically we want to visit breweries, distilleries, churches, and castles. That's it. No, but really, our itinerary for Dublin includes the Guinness Storehouse, Teeling Whiskey Company, Irish Whiskey Museum, Jameson Distillery, and a bunch of pubs. And then we also want to see St. Anne's Church, Christchurch Cathedral, St. Patrick's Cathedral, and Dublin Castle. Booze and buildings, that's all. One of the tips I got when planning this trip was to use the Sygic Travel app. Shout out to Haley Warner for showing me this because I've used this so much. Here's what the Sygic app looks like. As you can see, I've mapped out all the places we want to see and the best way to get there, whether that be public transportation or just walking. I've also put in some notes for things I need to remember about the different places we're going, so I highly recommend this app. I've put a link to all the apps I've mentioned in this video in my description box below so that you can check them out. Another app I used a ton during the planning process is called Rome to Rio. Rome to Rio is an app, but it's also a website. On this app, you can put in your starting point and your desired destination, and it gives you all the transportation options, the prices, and how long it'll take to get there. This was super helpful to plan out the days that we're in Lisbon and Dublin so that we can figure out the cheapest way to get around these cities using only public transportation. I highly recommend downloading this app or checking out the website if you're traveling, domestically or internationally. And one more favorite travel app to recommend is this currency exchange app. This app works offline, so I anticipate we're going to use it a lot when we're traveling abroad so that we can figure out how much everything costs in US dollars. And as far as a phone plan goes, we're trying to keep our phones on airplane mode as much as possible throughout this trip to avoid extra costs. But we did add an international plan from Verizon onto my cell phone. So if we need to use a phone for Uber or GPS or anything like that, it's just $10 per day that we use it, and we will have access to unlimited data every day that we use it. So like I said, we're trying to use it as little as possible, but it will not be any more than $130, even if we use it every single day, which we definitely won't need to do. After 2 days in Dublin, we will be getting a rental car through Sixt and driving up to Belfast, Northern Ireland. We're getting the most basic automatic car you can get. It actually costs quite a bit more to get an automatic car in Europe, but neither of us are comfortable driving a standard car, so we had to get that upgrade. The rental car cost us $413.36 for 6 days. Now, this might seem like a lot, and it kind of is, but we decided to purchase extra insurance so that we would not be liable in case of an accident. Most times our car insurance company or our credit card would offer insurance, but Ireland is one of the few countries that they don't cover. In Ireland, they drive on the other side of the road, they have narrow streets, and I've heard they're pretty crazy drivers. So we thought it was worth the extra money to get this extra insurance just in case. So on Thursday, March 12th, we're renting a car from Dublin Airport, which is the cheapest location to pick up, and we're driving up to Belfast. In Belfast, we're staying in a loft apartment Airbnb in Drumbo, which is right outside of Belfast. This Airbnb cost us $105.38 for 2 nights. For this day, we didn't really care about being right at the heart of the city since we'll have a rental car. Belfast is basically the reason for this whole trip because this city is where a lot of Game of Thrones was filmed. But our first day there, after making the 1.5-hour drive up, we're touring the city of Belfast. I have a bunch of attractions saved on my Sygic itinerary, including Belfast Castle, Titanic Belfast, and St. Anne's Cathedral. schedule. We're also doing a guided tour during the middle of the day. It's a political walking tour so that we can learn about the history of Belfast and the political tension in the past and present. On our second day in Belfast, we're doing a lot more driving outside the city. We're traveling all around to see some of the Game of Thrones filming locations and some other really cool spots. We're starting at Carrickfergus Castle, which is about 25-minute drive from our Airbnb. And then we're going to the Gobbins, which is this beautiful cliff-faced path on the coast. And then for our self-guided Game of Thrones tour, we're going to the Dark Hedges, which is an iconic place in Game of Thrones called the King's Road. From there, we will go to Carrickfergus Rope Bridge, which you can actually walk across. It looks terrifying, but there's some really cool views of the coast from the top. After the rope bridge, we're going to Giant's Causeway, which is this beautiful rock formation on the coast. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site too. Once we're done there, we'll head back to the Belfast Drumbo area. In this planning process, I've tried to find a good balance between planning ahead so that we can make the most of our time, while also leaving some room in our schedule so we can just find things to do as we go. So even if we don't go to every one of these places I have saved on Sygic, these are just some of the places we're really excited about in advance. On Saturday, March 14th, we will be traveling back down to the Dublin area to go visit Howth, which is a peninsula east of Dublin. On our way there, we're stopping at Castle Ward in Downpatrick, UK. Castle Ward was one of the filming sites for Game of Thrones, and this is where Winterfell was based off of, for those of you who know the show. After we visit Castle Ward, we will be heading down to Howth, which is about 2 hours away. We're excited to visit the lighthouse, the harbor, and the castle in Howth, and to just walk around this quaint fishing village. We'll be staying at an Airbnb apartment on the outskirts of Dublin for one night while we're visiting Howth. Our Airbnb here costs $66.12 for one night. Again, we really didn't care about being right in the center of Howth because we have a rental car. Bright and early Sunday morning, we'll be headed down to... Stay tuned for my next video to find out where we're going next week. We're so excited about this trip, and it doesn't even feel like reality right now. So we are barely going to have internet access, which I'm actually super excited about, to disconnect a bit. But still, comment down below if you've been to Lisbon, Ireland, or Northern Ireland, and what you loved most. We would love your suggestions on great local spots to check out. So you might be wondering how my March goal fits into this trip. I have thought about this goal for a long time, trying to figure out a goal that would work at home and abroad. So my spirituality goal probably will not look any different on our trip. We're super limited on luggage, so I won't be bringing a Bible. I'll just be using the Bible app on my phone to continue my daily Bible reading. And I'll continue my prayer plans too. And I planned ahead so the Bible verse I meditate on this week is all about the beauty of what God made while we're traveling around seeing the beauty of God's creation in Europe. So the verse I'm meditating on this week is Romans 1 verse 20, the Common English Bible version, which says, "Ever since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, God's eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen because they are understood through the things God has made." So while we're visiting this beautiful landscape, I'll be meditating on this verse to remind myself of God's role in providing for us so that we could go on this awesome trip and see these amazing things that God made. So I wasn't sure if I was going to do shoutouts on these travel videos since I'm recording them in advance, but I decided to do more of a travel-related shoutout instead of my normal shoutout to a subscriber who commented on my video. So this week's shoutout goes to Justin's Aunt Kathy and Uncle Warren. They have been to Ireland multiple times and love it there. We talked to them about our trip a few times and they gave us some great tips on where to go and just general advice for traveling in Ireland. So thank you so much, Warren and Kathy. As always, if you have any suggestions, comment down below or message me on social media. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button down below and make sure you click the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss a video, especially next week's video. Be sure to tune in next week to learn about where we're going and what we're doing next week. I hope you guys have an awesome week and I'll see you next week.